Coach Arnett, welcome.
Yes, sir.
We
Thank
will
you.
kick it off here. Who's got a question for Coach Arnett? All right, we'll go to Ben Portnoy first.
Coach, obviously y'all were able to bring a lot of pressure on Saturday, and I think it was Tyrus Weed who was telling us that y'all saw a little bit of a mismatch on the inside. I guess, what was it that you guys kind of found that you were able to exploit, and what did you kind of see from your guys at least bringing pressure on in the pass rush?
That's our base defense. Our base defense is bring pressure. So, guys did a nice job executing. By no means were we perfect all the time. I mean, there's quite a few busts out there that could have and should have led to points, and thank goodness it didn't. But we got a lot of things to clean up.
Next, we'll go to Joel Coleman.
You mentioned the cleanup process, Zach. What in particular did you see that in your mind has to be fixed by this week?
Oh, I mean, missed assignments, guys either going the wrong way or not executing the call or busting coverage where you got receivers running wide open. And thank goodness, one guy in the pass rush can make a Herculean effort and, reach out and hit the quarterback's arm, and it leads to an interception instead of a touchdown. But, I know all of our opponents watching that film, they're chomping at the bit to play us on defense because they see a whole bunch of opportunities out there for big plays and points.
Next, we'll go to Paul Jones.
Those guys seemed to tackle pretty well on the back end of the secondary, particularly Sean Preston. What did you take away when you watched him on film?
Yeah, that's kind of Sean's strong suit. He likes to run to the ball and hit, and so that position he plays in our defense, a lot of times he's down there kind of at linebacker level, and so you get to play like a linebacker, and that kind of suits him a little bit. But same thing, same thing with everyone. There's some good plays made, but there's quite a few bad plays made, and so obviously the message this week has been we got a lot of improvement to do because we can't be relying on our offense to set a SEC passing record every week for us to win a game.
We'll go to James Yotis.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Yes, sir.
Wanted to ask you, just getting a little bit off topic, but we've got two LaQuava grads coaching against each other in this game, and I'm just wondering, number one, do you know Mark Kayla? And number two, if you don't, I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the uniqueness of having two kids from Albuquerque who are now coaching in the SEC against each other to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think it's Mark Kalla, but I know who you're talking about. I know him. Obviously, very happy for him. I think he's kind of been down here in the Southeast for the last several years. I think he was, at a Florida school. Now he's at Arkansas, so he's done a really nice job working his way through. And I'll be excited to chat with him pregame a little bit.
Can you talk about just the uniqueness? Getting back to my second part of my question about having two guys from the same high school here in New Mexico, which is not a huge college football state, now both being in the SEC and getting a chance to kind of do your things there.
Yeah, it's a small world. Obviously, like I said, I'm happy for him. He's done a nice job, and I'll be happy to catch up with him. I guess it's just the way the schedule worked out, right? We were going to play New Mexico week one. There's all kinds of Albuquerque and New Mexico ties in that one. It didn't work out because of coronavirus, and seems like we have another.
All right, we'll go to Paul Jones. Coach, did you hear that?
I did not.
Paul, you want to try again?
Talk about the practice that you guys were able to get against LSU's offensive line.
The pressure?
Your defensive line.
I think I've said it several times, right? Our defensive front is the most experienced group we have on our side of the ball. We need them to play well, and generate pressure and cause some havoc because we tend to be young and inexperienced behind them. And so when you got seniors up there, they need to play like seniors. Unfortunately, a few of them guys did. But again, there's missed assignments up there, and there's things we got to do a lot better at.
We'll go back to Tyler Horka.
Yeah, Zach, you talked a lot about missed assignments and wanting to be better. I'm curious if that was a case of you being able to recognize that while the game was going on in real time, or if when you went back and watched the film, you were like, okay, maybe this is a little worse than I thought. Here are the things that we need to be better at.
No, you see things from the sideline. Obviously, I mean, that's why you got a press box, right? We got coaches up there in the press box who let you know right away once it happens, and so you can try to get things adjusted on the sideline. So we knew about most of them. Obviously, things show up on film after the fact, but I mean, you know, we made enough plays. Obviously, you make enough plays to win the game, but you know, that's not nearly as good as we want to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Anything else for Coach Arnett?
Yeah. You can tell I'm cheery today.
Tyler, go ahead.
I forget who we were talking to after the game, but one of the guys up front said that a lot of the reason they got so much pressure was that the back end held up pretty well. I'm curious to hear what you thought about the secondary, especially since all the talk going into the game was about how inexperienced your guys are, and they were a question mark on the defensive end.
I think a pleasant surprise was when we called man coverage. We held up pretty well. Now we did give up 2 touchdowns in man, so you know that's typically the way that coverage goes, right? It's boom or bust if you don't get home. But we did. We sent a lot of pressures. A lot of times that we ended up being in zero coverage, so there's not a deep guy in the deep middle. That's kind of a savior in the sky, and so. They did a decent job when they were put in straight man coverage with no free safety back there of holding up. And if typically that means you got a lot of guys coming after the quarterback. So if you can cover for a little bit, then you give your front guys a chance to get home. And so a few times that worked out. A few times it led to long touchdowns. Probably calls by me on those down and distances. Sorry, cut that part.
Tyler, did you have another one?
Yeah, we saw Martin leave the game just for a little bit there. When he comes back and he comes in and he makes a few plays after that, I think, how much of a boost does that give to your guys, given that he's probably one of the leaders, especially on the back end?
I think it's just, you know, this school's known for tough physical football teams, especially on the defense side of the ball. And so, you know, it should be the standard here. Obviously, you never want to see a guy get banged up, but it's nice to see guys who want to play so bad that they're going to find a way to get back on the field.